Welcome back to the Running Explained podcast. And we just had a fabulous episode with Dr. Vicky Sekely, Train Smart, Run Strong on social media. And we talked all about PT, strength training, running. We had a fantastic conversation. Vicky talked to us a lot about PT and how your journey through physical therapy, of why you come to a PT in the first place, how you're supposed to, how PTs work to assess injuries. She talked a lot about the system itself and how it exists, and also kind of how to progress your injuries once you leave PT. We also talked about running Gait, a very popular conversation around the sport of running. And she had some hot takes that you'll want to hear about running Gait, and we all kind of went into it. We also talked a lot about injuries just in general, and running injuries that are prominent in the running space right now, and how we see what's happening and working through it. And so we really think you're going to enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Running Explained podcast, your go-to resource for learning the how, what, and why of running so you can train smarter, run stronger, and actually enjoy the process with a more human approach. We're your hosts, Coach Amanda Katz.
And Coach Nicholas Stava. And we here have a special guest today. It is Dr. Vicky Sekely, also one of my athletes. Hi, Vicky.
Yay, hi, I'm so happy to be here. It's just a conversation amongst friends, really, is what this is.
Also, my physical therapist. Also, my friend. Also.
We're friends foremost.
But that's true. That's true. When I'm not spiraling into the voice notes. So, Doctor, Miss Vicky, who are you?
Wow, existentially?
Yep.
Who
Meanwhile,
am I?
offline, I just said, I was like, it's not going to be that deep, the first question,
Right.
but it is.
It's extremely deep. Who am I? I am first a dog mom. That's my first role. I'm a physical therapist. I am a run coach. I am, I guess, a content creator. Those are just titles, though. If we want to be existential, then we can go a little bit deeper. I consider this pretty deep. I'm Canadian.
Hey.
I'm someone who really, really loves their dog and just wants my entire life to be about peace in my mind and peace with my dog. And that's what I strive for in this life.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, working with you, we built everything around Kofi. It was like
Yes!
so much training was built around Kofi, which
That's
is
right.
the same thing for a parent of a kid,
Yeah.
obviously. But
yeah, I take it a little bit probably more seriously than most dog parents. But yeah, I remember when we first started working together, Kofi was like 8 months old and he was an absolute maniac. And I didn't know, like I used to take him on my runs with me, and my runs would be like start and stop for, 20 minutes. And then I would be like, oh, sorry, Nick, I only got 20 minutes done instead of like an hour. Like couldn't do the rest because my dog is crazy. And it still is like that, but now it's about finding more balance. And again, like going back to just finding peace. I remember I used to say, I want happiness, but it's not even that. I just want peace in my life. That's my goal as I age.
Amen. Amen to that.
yeah.
And I would argue that despite not being while I did own one, despite not being a dog person, I think that your approach to dog parenting is the approach that any person who wants to have a pet should embody. And that is because people do not take that responsibility seriously. Coming all the way down to the fact that I'm seeing your golden doodles poo-poo caca in my snowbounds in New York City. Okay?
No, it's insane. It really is crazy. I can't, as a dog parent as well, I would never leave my dog's poop just out on the street, especially in the snow. Like it's insane.
This is the bare minimum. This is the bare
I agree.
minimum. And Vicky's not that mom. Vicky is above and beyond for Kofi.
I would never do that. I think it's disgusting.
But that's like, what? Where?
Yeah.
We were running last weekend in Baltimore and all the snow had melted and we were just dodging what the remnants of all the dogs.
It's everywhere. It's disgusting. Amanda, we were together when we did that run and we saw that dog eating out of the garbage.
Oh my God. And Vicky and I were like, we have to stop.
Literally was
I didn't know what to do, but Vicky did.
I was like, I'm so concerned. Like, it was a loose dog, which isn't that strange in like New York City parks, I guess. But like, he was going ham in the garbage and the owners were nowhere to be found. And I was like, we got to get this dog out of this garbage. Like, he's going to die from eating something.
We stopped the run. We're looking around. It was in a pretty remote area of a running
There was no
path.
one.
And we were like, this is...
and it was
somebody,
a doodle.
I think, appeared and they were like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, I'm like, Lorraine, is it fine? Is it fine?
Your dog's going to be pooping and throwing up all night. So like, no, it's not fine.
Because this dog just had a sweet green salad.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that was nuts.
We're a little off the rails. Okay.
That means a lot to me because I take it very seriously and I want him to have the best life ever. He's not here for a long time, but he'll be here for a good time, you know?
Yeah. He deserves that piece.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think you nailed answering the question.
Thanks.
Great answer.
In every way, shape, or form. So, speaking of one of your titles, can you talk to us a little bit about what you do about physical therapy and when it comes to specifically runners who come to you and why they come see you, when they come see you?
Yeah. I mean, the original reason that I started my business is because, you know, I started in an outpatient orthopedic PT place as my first job at a PT school on 56th and 3rd, and, you know, had a good experience there, saw a lot of different types of clientele, and recognized that I just really, really love working with runners. And a lot at that time, think about this, it was like 2017, 2018. So like, it doesn't feel that long ago in my mind, but when you actually think about it, it was almost 10 years ago. At that time, runners didn't really link strength training with running. And it's kind of sounds crazy to say now because like now you go on social media and every single runner's like strength training, like almost a little bit too far now, but that's neither here nor there. We can get into that later. But at the time, runners were like, nope, I don't go to the gym. I do not strength train. I just go for my run. Running gets it done. I don't have to. I remember fighting people in my comment sections when I first started my Instagram about how like strength training actually hinders running. And like when you get big and bulky, you become a slower runner. Like that was the thing back then. So back in my role as a PT at this clinic, I started this like free, 60-minute outdoor strength for runners session. So I like got all of my running clients at that PT clinic and then told all of my colleagues as well, like, if you have a runner, tell them that like I'm going to be at Central Park at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday nights and we're just going to do an hour of strength training together. Cause like at the time I also wasn't strength training. I was like, I'm just going to run. I didn't really have time for anything else, to be honest, because like it was just chaos back then. And like working those shifts was really hard. I'm not going to lie. But I was like, okay, if I know other runners will want to do this, if it's being led by a PT, I know they need to do this. They're not going to do it if they pay for it, right? That was like the time people weren't doing that. And so it's like, this will be my hour to strength train too. And I'm just going to bring a lot of my other runners by and we're just going to do this together. And I did it for like probably about a year, maybe a little bit over a year, every Tuesday. And everyone found it like so much fun. And people were like, I can't believe, like, I never thought a squat would be good for runners. I never understood why I would be doing lunges, all of that stuff. And that's kind of what got my wheels turning into Instagram. And that's what also turned me into like more run coaching and understanding the full side of things. And then ultimately leading me to what I do now, which is kind of like bridging that gap or taking that next level from like, okay, you're not in acute, like I cannot move pain anymore, but you're not yet understanding how you can return to running after an injury, which is something that most insurances don't cover. Most PTs actually don't consider that a part of their job description. And I think it's one of the most important aspects of returning from an injury. And it's really about, making sure runners have a good understanding of what is beneficial for them and not just kind of like following, the old thoughts that we used to have about it. And that's really how my business started. So that's kind of what I do now. It's like helping runners transition from PT into running, helping runners understand truly how to prevent injuries, because it's not just as simple as strength training. A lot of that is like training load, coaching runners to, whatever they want to do. But I have to say a lot of my clientele is really people who have just been plagued with like chronic injuries and they have never run pain-free, and they're at their last, this is like, I'm usually our last resort, unfortunately. And our goal is just running healthy and running pain-free again. And it's really kind of, I hate the word holistic, but for people who don't hate the word holistic because they're not triggered like I am, that's kind of what I look at is like, a more like well-rounded approach versus just like, your shin hurts, let's give you exercises for the shin, like, which I don't think should happen anyways. We could pause here.
No, it's great. I love that response. I wanted to talk about this because I think a lot of people don't understand what a physical therapist kind of provides for runners. I think a lot of people worry if they go to see a PT, they're going to tell them not to run, and they're going to not really kind of help them get through it, maybe not even understand runners, and sort of stop them in their tracks. And it's, I've always sent people your way because a lot of injuries don't necessarily mean to stop. I think the common fear in our mind is, I feel pain, I don't run. And some injuries, sure. Other injuries, you can still lessen your load, and it probably needs to be to help it heal. Completely going off only makes it worse. Yeah. And like navigating that space is hard for people because of all the information out there. And yet the strength training, it is something that not common for runners, which is, it was weird in my bubble because I grew up high school, college, and we just strength trained. It was just part of the routine. Go run, and I go to the weight room. And so when I got older, I still did it because it was built in. But for a lot of newer runners, it's just, I just run and my body will get strong from the pounding of the ground. It's like, well, no, like you're not adding anything extra. It's the same movement. It's not getting stronger. It's not progressing. And we'll talk about that later too. But yeah, I loved you sharing all about this because I think it's helpful for people to not look at PTs as disaster mode, like in their running, and more of, hey, they're an equal part of the team and they want to see you get back and they understand. And it's not always you cannot run. If you talk to a PT, that's going to be their answer.
I want to say something to that too, because I think that's important. Like there has been a time when I tell runners to stop running, right? Like there are specific, albeit rare, we're getting not as rare now, but like there are rare circumstances that a PT does need to, or a runner does need to stop running. I think the problem, and this is a problem beyond PT, right? This can happen in any situation, really, like in any other career. But typically what you'll hear is a PT being like, oh, you have to stop running, period. There's no explanation like, oh, you need to stop running because you're in pain. Fine. But if I'm ever telling someone they need to stop running, I am following it up with, here's why, and this is what you're going to do instead, and this is when you can come back to running, right? And I think that's what's missing in a lot of these situations. And I don't want this to come off as like me blaming my colleagues or my profession, but sometimes it does come down to like there's just miscommunication or there's just a lack of understanding by the runner, whether that's because the PT is not explaining it or there's just something that's missing there. But a lot of the times it's like runners won't stop running because they aren't told a good enough reason to. And that's so fair because a lot of the times you shouldn't. And I'll tell that to a million runners like, hey, you probably thought I was going to tell you to stop running, but we can actually keep running. It might not look like what you think it's going to look like. It might not look like 3 miles every day. It might look like a run walk, but that's better than 0 miles every day. That's better than continuing and then having to stop for months because you actually created something really serious. So I'm not afraid to say that to a runner, just so you have an understanding of like, hey, this is the situation. And you can take it or leave it at the end of the day. Like, you can always get a second opinion, but that's why I always try and I try and explain what's going on in my mind. And I think that's lacking a lot of the times in traditional PT, whether that's a time issue, just miscommunication for whatever reason. And that's why I tell a lot of runners, like, if the PT that you met with, if you don't align with them, if you're not understanding what they're saying, find another PT. Like, it should just make sense to you. You should buy in to what they're saying, because you will be better off that way. But if you're not buying in, find someone else.
That part right there, I think is at least in my experience, because I'm constantly referring out, whether that is through my athletes, but honestly, a lot of people who I teach 12 classes at Equinox, right? And so I'm encountering people who are going through these pain cycles, and some of them are runners who have gone to physical therapists who do not specialize in running, and the exercises that they've received or the feedback that they've received, it does. That's how they respond to it.
Yeah.
All sorts of sounds. Vicky, I had to put myself on mute yesterday because the falling ice on my air conditioner. Yeah, we're in the bad place. So anyway, if you're watching this right now, just know that you're
it's
along
honestly
for the
a
ride.
noise I'm so used to. Like,
I know you are.
don't
Me
even hear
too.
it.
Me too. But I have to remember that there are people who
Yeah.
listen to this
Like me.
podcast, the majority of which who are not in New York City.
Yeah.
And they don't get it's okay. So in any event, I think that's really important. That if you are looking for a physical therapist, one, you should not be getting to a physical therapist as your last resort. Having somebody in your pocket, I think, is really important if you take this sport seriously. And if you take this sport seriously, you want to make sure that the professionals that you surround yourself with, whether that's a physical therapist, a personal trainer, honestly, a lot of people it takes a lot of work, but a lot of people on my medical team, like my endocrinologist, my podiatrist. Like, I want these people to either be runners or work with I want them to be working actively with an active population, because it's very different than other folks in that profession and physical therapy profession who are not working with runners.
Yeah, my urologist told me he followed me on Strava, so I was like, "We're
Green
aligned."
flag.
Yeah,
On
green flag.
Strava. Wow.
Wow is right. It's a little
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's okay.
It is good. It is good. Yeah.
Love
All
it.
right, Vicky, let's chat about a fun topic, which is running gait, because everyone loves to talk about this. And we've seen some of your videos, we've seen a lot of commentary, but I feel like people are always talking about everyday runners and professionals and suggestions to fix their stride and how to help them get faster or help them prevent injuries that they don't even have yet, but they're going to have. And, I feel like a lot of new runners constantly hear, we also have cadence plays into this because there's the 180 number that isn't real, but gets thrown out. If you're at 178, you got to improve your stride. So now we got to fix your gait to get you faster, and then you'll get less injured and you'll run PRs. Anyway, I digress. But, I feel like a lot of new runners get pushed towards this. They have no injury history, but it's told they'll prevent these injuries. So can we chat a little bit about running gait?
Yeah. I think the most important aspect here is exactly what you said in that last sentence. Like, what I'm talking about on my social media when I address this topic, and I think the most important thing to remember is your running gait, your running form, the way that you run is, number one, always going to be unique to you no matter what. And number two, exactly what you said, if you are a healthy new runner and have rarely, if ever, had any issues or injuries, this is something that you really, this is like bottom of the totem pole of what you should be thinking about to improve in general. If you want to get faster, if you want to run more, if you want to train for your first race, this is literally, this shouldn't even be a thought in your mind, right? The reason being is because there is no single biomechanical factor of your gait that reliably causes injuries. And that's just a fact. People have argued like overstride, but even overstriding now has not been shown to reliably cause an injury. Often what you're seeing on social media are these videos of people like zooming into this person overstriding, heel striking, the shin bone angle, your hip angle, your trunk angle, all of these things. And like, yeah, that's something that you can consider if you are injured and you want to be, returning from that injury. But this is not something that you should be doing if you are running healthy, period. Like there's no reason to be picking that apart, because what we find is if you start overanalyzing it, if you start overthinking it, you're going to create way more issues than if you were to just leave it alone. I spoke to someone the other day. They messaged me on my TikTok account, actually, and they said they won a free gait analysis from like a PT place. And yeah, right. Like won it in a raffle or something. And they went and they were told that their cadence was too high. So they need to lower their cadence or something like that. And they were like, what do I do? Like, I don't understand. I'm not injured, whatever. And I was like, literally forget everything that they said. The fact that they're like giving out a free gait analysis to anyone who like happens to I mean, at least it was free. Like there are people out there charging money for it. If you are paying for a gait analysis and you're not injured, honestly, I think it's a scam. Period. Like I think it's a scam, because there's nothing that you need to be changing if you're not injured. And I also think that a lot of PTs rush to, even for injured athletes, rush to analyze gait and use that before doing anything else, which again, I think is a little bit, I don't even really want to go there though, because I don't think it's wrong to do a gait analysis in that sense. There's a lot of things that we can improve. But here's the problem is that PT doesn't know what you looked like before. They don't know what you look like mile 22 of a marathon. Or are they having you run 22 miles before they're analyzing your gait? I don't think so. So like, how do they even know that this is what caused your injury when they didn't see you before your injury? They're only seeing you after, when you're in pain. How do they know that that's not something your body is doing because it's in pain? Right? And like, maybe that's actually the way that your body is allowing you to run that way. So there's a lot of things that we have to question about gait analysis, simply because it's so rampant on social media right now. Like literally I mean, it's probably because my algorithm, I've been, calling them out. But like, I mean, it is crazy. Every gait form video that I see has like thousands of likes and thousands of reshares. And I'm like, this is a problem. Like a lot of people are going to just start over analyzing these things and creating more issues. And like, I guess, job security on my part, but like, that's not what I want. Like, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, it's really irritating.
It's like opinion. I mean, the problem is you can sound intelligent while analyzing someone's gait. And so then
throw
it comes
up all
off
these lines.
Yeah, and it comes off. And honestly, the things they're saying, probably you could go science, look up, and it would be right. But in the context they're explaining it, it's wrong. Yeah. And they're showing a professional athlete who runs 2:14 in the marathon and saying, well, look at her leg kickback, or look where she lands.
And their solutions are wrong. Their solutions are wrong too. Like that's the problem.
And so, but then everyday runners think, oh, well, if she has bad gait, I can improve. Like it's capturing people who don't know any better, but because it's an easy thing to get analyzed and then put you in. Then if you're at a shoe store, you can get put in shoes that would help correct it. Air quotes. Yeah. And so there's so many solutions that are all costing you lots of money for a problem that doesn't necessarily exist
They're scam.
In our context here is if you're injured and your PT says, oh, you come back for this hamstring injury 5 times, let's do a gait analysis. Like, okay, we might learn something. Although, to your point, Vicky, if my hamstring problem comes up at mile 20 of my marathon, how is it mile 0 of my run on the treadmill really gonna like show you anything? I don't know. So it's really just kind of saying that gait is a part of the existence of running, but in social media will make you believe it's the thing that is holding you back or causing all your injuries that haven't happened yet.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Though I wanted you to, and maybe you will touch upon it because Nick just brought it up. Speaking of scams, talk to me about a runner walking into a running store, being assessed for a shoe and being told like, well, you have flat feet, so this is the shoe for you. You have, I hear you have a history of plantar fasciitis, or you're a 4-foot striker, and then them diagnosing a shoe.
Look, people have really come for me for saying that. Like, people who work and run. So I want to tread a little bit lightly when I say this, because I don't want those people to feel like I'm disrespecting them. Like, if you work in a running store and your job is to use the software that company pays probably thousands of dollars to use, I really don't like. That's a hard place to be. I understand. And like,
and
those
you're selling
people,
shoes. Like,
and
that's
you're selling
your job.
shoes.
Your job is to sell shoes.
And it's really challenging because those people also, they care a lot. And that's something that I found, like the video that I posted specifically a couple weeks ago on this. I understand these people really care. They really want to help runners. And what are they going to do? Tell their like boss, the CEO of Fleet Feet, that like this AI tool that they're using like actually doesn't do anything? I'll say that, but like, I don't think they can say that. So like, you know, they want to feel like the time that they're spending is purposeful. And I'm sure there is purpose to it. But if you're listening to this, like, there is period, point blank, no reason that any way that your foot looks, whether you're standing, if you're walking, there is no biomechanical assessment that should dictate what shoe you are wearing. There's just none. Like, there's no reason to go through. I mean, okay, these fancy analysis can maybe look, here's the deal. Like, we have thousands of shoes on those shelves. So if it like harnesses like 10 of them and they're like, okay, these are 10 random shoes that we're picking, go try them on. Fine. Like, I mean, decision fatigue, I get it. Like, we also don't need 100 toothbrushes as an option in CVS. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's helping in that sense. Like, maybe we're getting a little bit more to the point, but ultimately, like, and I think most of them do this, so I'm going to give them credit. Like, they'll have you try it on, and hopefully the one thing they're saying is what feels best for you. Even with that, we don't have much data to support that, but that's the like closest we can get, is like comfort is probably going to give you positive benefits. Like, yeah, I don't think wearing a shoe that's uncomfortable is going to be helpful for you. I mean, I think that's common sense. But yeah, I unfortunately, I wish it were as easy as you standing on some plates and them analyzing your foot and being like, oh, you need this shoe. Like, this is going to be a really good shoe for you. That's just not the case. If it works out, great. I think go in there, you know, if you're going into a shoe store, go in there and, you know, you can let them do all of their things, but ultimately try on a bunch of different shoes and walk out with the one that's more comfortable for you.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll go a step further and just say there's no perfect running shoe for anyone. And we could have a whole episode about running shoes and reviews and how they don't give you, like, someone wearing a shoe doesn't matter to you and there's no whatever. We go all down that, but we're not going to do that today. You have to tune in to some future date. So to all this summarized, yes, to running gait, it is a part. You have a running gait. That is factually correct. Changing it without injuries or to get faster, when it comes to cadence if you are extreme in some extreme areas, maybe it's something to look at. But again, after you have something that caused you an injury or a problem, not just because it's low or high. That
Yeah.
fact. End of story. That's our Gait conversation. We loved it.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing
yes,
too
you
that I
can.
wanted to mention? The other problem with these Gait videos are, again, like they'll pick apart someone's form and then be like, oh, see, you know, like there's hip drop, like just do a bunch of like glute med exercises and a bunch of glute bridges. I'm going to say this once, okay? Your strength exercises have very little carryover to your actual running form. Like, period. And I have seen PTs, I'm not going to name them. I wish I could, but I'm not going to name them. I have seen them talk about these little stability exercises, single leg bridges, single leg deadlifts. That's going to help your hip drop. That's going to help your knee cave again. No, it's not. It has not been shown to do that. There is no carryover. You know what is going to help? There can be some like running drills, like A skips, B skips. But if we're talking about like actual drills that help your running, the question comes up, what if you just like ran more? Like your body just gets better at what you're trying to do when you keep running. It's a complicated topic. It's not as simple as do these glute bridges, you're going to not have hip drop anymore. And that is the ultimate issue with these oversimplified Gait assessments. I'm not telling you not to do single leg deadlifts and single leg bridges, but just be aware, like be understanding of why you're doing them. You're doing them to build your load capacity. That's it. Like it's not going to immediately make your running form completely change. That's not how it works, unfortunately.
No, we love it. I just got jump scared from your nose, so that was that's great. But no, thank you for all that.
She's right.
Yeah. All right. Let's chat about another fun topic of the world of running today. There is an epidemic of runners getting injured. And I have a lot of thoughts from whether, all over the place, AI training plans or almost this push from the industry towards creators to race all the time and be at races or not get paid and where they're and so like it's almost pushing people to race because there's a lot of money in this sport and then people and not forget them, but then the trickle down effect of watching them race so much feels like it's also leading to this almost epidemic of injuries. Can you share your thoughts on what you think is going on right now and what are all these injuries coming about and why?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I really do think it's because these creators who are on social media to showcase their running, whether it's because they get paid to run more races or because they just are getting paid for making content about running, that's going to most likely drive up your running demand. And if your body's not prepared to do that, you're going to get injured. I'm not sure it's as simple as like everyone's. I mean, I'm sure there is something to doing like multiple marathons a year. We have said, I'm sure you guys have said on this podcast multiple times, like that's just not a smart thing to be doing. These people are getting paid to do it, whatnot. I still think it's a bad example. But again, I've never been offered $10,000 to run both the London and the Boston Marathon. Like that's never been an option for me. I don't know if I would say no. Like that's a solid chunk of money. I don't know what those people are signing up for. So we shouldn't be really like looking to them to their like good examples, because those aren't good examples. But I do think a lot of it is kind of sad because it's like they feel like they need to be making this content constantly, and the content goes viral when they're at these races, when they're doing these big training runs, when they're doing time trials. That's the content that does well. And you can very easily over stress your body from doing that. And that's why the injuries are showing up. But I'm always, like it's always sad for me because I too understand, like I have signed up for marathons. I'm currently signed up for a marathon. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, not only do I want to prove myself in this marathon, of course, but like, yeah, it's good content to go for long runs and to be training and to have a goal, right? Like I would be lying if I said this is purely for personal satisfaction. Like this is also a business. So I get it. Like I get it. It makes sense to me. But I think it's just a good reminder that like you should always be focused on your own training and never fall for the influencer thing.
Yeah, and I wanted to just be clear. I'm not. No part of me is like when I
No, I
mention AI
know.
training plans
I
and I
know.
mention
Yeah.
creators. I mention them only as the part of the what's happening, what people are
Totally.
seeing, and it is sort of implying that this is normal. And I know we've been saying it for
100%.
years. And there was a time many years ago before social media that you would just run a marathon and no one would know. And why would you do 7 of them? Because no one would know. So you wouldn't. You would do
Right.
one. You would tell your friends. They'd go, "Oh, you sure you want to do another one?" You go, "I don't know." And that would be the end of it, right? And now it's, okay, I'm going to do every world major. I'm going to be everywhere. And everyone else sees that and they think, okay, I can do this. And the real problem is your favorite creators, your favorite influencers, when they do get hurt, they sort of disappear. And so you're not even noticing when they're hurt because they're not posting as much, because who wants to talk about running when they're hurt?
That's so
It
important.
sucks.
That's
And
such a
so
good point.
you aren't seeing them be injured. You aren't seeing what they go through. You just see them when they're back, and you're like, oh, well, an injury's probably not bad. They 3 months they're back. What did they deal with? Maybe they're on crutches. Maybe they couldn't get around. Like, so we don't see the cause and effect of doing too much, because
Yeah.
that's not a story to tell, because no one, even if they did tell it, no one sees it because it's terrible content.
Right.
So my point of all this, I feel like, is people want to blame AI training plans. They want to blame over train. I think it's a combination of a lot, but I think it's just what we all consume and feel like is now normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's ultimately the biggest issue in the running community right now is you don't see what's going on. Like you can't say, oh, I want to, this person went from, why this content drives me nuts. This person went from a 4-hour marathon to a 3:30 marathon and XYZ. This is what they did. Do not listen to that. It has nothing to do with you. Like, and that content constantly goes viral. And it's like, that's actually not what they did. Like it might be what they think they did in their mind, but like there's so many factors that go into play. Like likely all they did is they ran like, 2 marathons and
they
like,
got consistent.
They got consistent, right? Like, but that's not sexy to hear. Like that's not going to go viral. They have to say they did this one workout. They did like Yasso 800s and now all of a sudden they're like a 3:30 marathoner. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. Like it's crazy what people come up with. But yeah, no, you don't see the other side of it. I mean, even myself, when I got my Achilles injury last year, I tried to post about it, but like, what's there to post about? Like, I'm injured, I'm not running as much. I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? So it's not really the influencer's fault in that sense either. But I do think that they are, like, I would probably feel some kind of moral responsibility if I were invited to 2 back-to-back marathons and then I did get injured. Like I would feel pretty bad about myself. I'm not going to lie. Like I take that really seriously. So
I was invited last year to run a marathon that would have been back to back with my goal race, my goal marathon.
Yeah.
And while the coin was not that right, I did I did say no. And I said no because and to be clear, I'm not trying to be cryptic at all. I got invited by, I think it was 2 or 3 different organizations. One of which I was like, no shade to anyone who decides that they want to make, just smoking weed a part of their journey. But like, I just don't know if that, it's not, I don't know that my mom would love that. And so it's like more of that for me. Like, I just didn't want to.
Totally.
So it was like a big company around that. So I was one. So that's a disclaimer. I will say that for me personally, as somebody who's a smaller content creator than Vicky, and most content creators, I think that my fear of, I just respect rest too much after I worked so hard towards a marathon to run a second one, that I'm almost like, these creators are just like, we're not the same. Like maybe you're younger than me. I don't know what it is, but like these bones are like, one marathon just feels delicious, and that's that's really great.
Totally. Yeah.
But I also think you're speaking to something that's really important, whether you're a content creator or you're just somebody on social media taking in content, right? You're a content consumer and you have no followers, but you're taking in this content and you have a community of people who you regularly interact with. It's so important to, and it goes back to that first question that we asked Vicky. Um, who are you outside of running? And so when you do get injured and you are a content creator and your entire personality is running, I just want you to think about that. And think about it even if you're not a content creator. What are the things that you identify with outside of running when you are put in a position where you cannot turn to running to exist in your community? And I think that's an important question to ask ourselves.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
almost go one step further too. And I think all of us, there's a lot of newer runners, new beginner runners starting, a lot of new runners who don't know anything, who just are finding it because the friends have found it, because however they're getting here. We all have a responsibility to the things we say, and our actions impact them. And we have a responsibility to the running community to do the right things, to say the right things. All of us. Even if you're not a coach, even if you're not a PT, even if you don't have education in running, if you know what you say to the community matters. And I feel a certain way when I see newer runners get injured and end up being, injuries sometimes last for years, and people can't get back to the way they were, and it goes on. And these are the sad stories, because overtraining can impact you so much further down the road. And I just think all of us owe it to ourselves and to the community to say the right things, to tell the right stories, and to be mindful.
I want to say something to that because it's something I've been thinking about so much, especially as I've been doing like reaction videos. I used to think like, okay, like why are like, because obviously I always think of fellow PT creators, right? Because that just is, I feel like that's more kind of the domain that I'm in. I used to be almost like irritated by other PT creators where I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, that's misleading. That's misinformation. That's wrong. Like, that's bad to do. Like, why are you doing that? That's morally wrong, in my opinion. And then I started thinking, like, first of all, they might not think that. They genuinely may not think that they're misleading people. And like even content creators, I'm thinking of one specific influencer, like big running influencer who's not a PT, who got injured, and they're posting a bunch of content. Like they got a stress fracture after doing all of these races, doing like a, every day of December run streak, whatever. Then they got a bone stress injury. And then now they're posting this content that's like, running is my life. Like I'm so dedicated. Like I'm still disciplined. I'm getting on the bike. I'm doing all this. Like running is life. You have to understand this is hard for me because running is my life. And they genuinely feel that. They do not think that anything is wrong with that, because they have hundreds of people in the comments being like, yes, you're so disciplined. You're so amazing. You're going to get back from this injury so quickly. They do not think that is wrong. So the people that I'm speaking to are the people who watch the content. I can't talk to the content creators. You got your own thing going on. I think you have a moral responsibility, but maybe you just genuinely don't think that you're being wrong or misleading. I don't know what it is. I can't change that. But for the people who listen to me and who like my content and who engage with my content, if you are seeing content that's like, I'm so disciplined, I went on a 50-mile bike ride 2 days after I got my boot and my stress fracture, I'm going to get back to this, I'm going to maintain my fitness, all of this stuff, block them, mute them, delete them. If you all saw my mute list, I think you would gasp. Like, I genuinely think you would gasp at how many people I have muted. I personally don't like block and delete people as much, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have my own platform that like, I don't want people to look into my following list and be like, why doesn't she follow that person? Oh, like, oh, they're in the same. I probably
There'll
have them
probably be
muted.
like a Reddit thread about it or something.
Right. Like genuinely, I probably have them muted because they're not the people that I'm speaking to. If you see their content and they are doing something where you're like, I don't know, talking about how you need to train your running form or how they need to keep up their fitness anytime they're injured, or like doing anything genuinely weird, in my opinion, there's a lot of weird people out there, mute them, block them, delete them. They're not for you. Like, and you know what? If I'm not for you, do the same to me. Like, there's gonna be people who don't believe in anything that I say. They think that I'm somehow like harmful. We all have our views. So I feel like I can't even, it stresses me out now to think about how much misinformation is out there. And that's never going to end. It's never going to end. So I just have to focus on my community and the people who genuinely believe that that what I'm saying is truthful and I genuinely have your well-being at heart and I don't just want to sell you on something. I hope that comes through in my content. And if you feel the opposite with another creator, the best thing you can do is unfollow them.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And it's better for your algorithm too.
Yes.
If you spend a lot of time on social media, and according to the statistics, you do. So it is
Yeah.
it is healthful. It is a health promoting behavior to make sure that the content that you are consuming when you are on your phone is actually supporting your growth as a runner and as a human. And Nick, I'm going to move on to the next question.
Oh, I just wanted to say one thing
Oh,
real
okay,
quick.
fine. That's
I
fine.
was for anyone here, you probably have listened to our Brad Stolberg episode. He really got animated talking about integrity versus growth. And so that could
Yes.
kind of apply really well to this. And so I don't want to rehash it because you've definitely heard it because you listened. Go ahead,
Yes,
Amanda.
you did. And that episode we're talking to Vicky at the end of February, and that episode with Brad's coming out in less
end
than
of
24
February.
hours.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we talked a lot about injuries. As a PT, can you talk a little bit more give us an avatar of what a potential rehab phase returning from an injury could look like for somebody who's medically cleared to engage in running again, and what runners might forget to do that have the biggest impact?
That's a good question. I mean, there's so many ways to answer this question because obviously, like I want you guys to like put a banner up above my head right now that just reads, it depends, and just like scrolling constantly through this and just visualize that.
Probably going to do that.
Because, yeah, 'cause hopefully that's not too hard to do. No, but I think one of the few things that's really important is to have an understanding of how much time you've taken off, if any at all. You probably hopefully modified or reduced your training. So that's really going to depend on a lot of factors. And if you have reduced mileage, if you've modified, if you've stopped training altogether, please do not jump back in to where you want to be or where you think you should be or where you ended off prior to feeling pain. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. I wish there was some kind of like boomerang that's like slingshotted you the second that you feel pain free, that now you can like do your 15-mile long runs and like 5-mile weekly runs consistently without pain. That's the quickest way to get in pain again. But I kind of want to take like a different spin on this a little bit and talk about something that I've recently noticed. In the case of like lower leg issues, so Achilles tendon, plantar fascia, all of that good stuff. Most runners, I feel like, have experienced something in that area because it's just such an important load bearing and very, very important area for you as a runner. I often see people now, again, like this is a classic social media thing, where they're like, oh, I can do, 30 single leg calf raises. I'm ready to run. And just a reminder that like running is not calf raises. Like it's not just like repetitive calf raises one after the next one. Yes, a calf raise is a great exercise to do, especially a heavy single leg calf raise. But just because you can do a calf raise doesn't mean you're ready to run. There's a lot of different ways that I actually test a calf raise. I've seen way too many athletes who are like, oh, I calf raise totally fine. And then they're doing like half range of motion, sped up, 80%. And they, are barely doing what I would consider a good calf raise. Not just that, but think about the demands of running. And this is for every athlete. Like running is hopping from one leg to the next. If you have done zero hopping, zero plyometrics, you're not ready to run. That's it. Unfortunately, I think especially in an injury situation, many people will hear from the doctor. And I say the doctor, capital T, capital D, like the person, the orthopedic that you're talking to. They'll be like, yeah, you're good to go. You're ready to run. Have you done anything? Like, have you done calf raises? Have you done hopping? Have you done all of that? Have you actually gotten yourself to a place where you are ready? Most of the time, the answer is no. I have a client that I'm working with right now who is post-op, an Achilles injury, and the doctor wants them to run, and they can barely do 10 calf raises, barely. And the doctor's like edging and I'm like, hold up. Like, this is a really good way to irritate that area. We got to start gradually. I want them to tolerate double leg hopping even before. It's just such a better way to make sure that your tissues in that area are actually prepared. And I think that process is done way too quickly. And I don't want this to sound like I'm against the return to run. Like I think I get people running probably a lot more quickly than this conversation sounds like I do. But it's just an important reminder. Like these are the things you want to be thinking of. Like, what are the demands of running? What does my body actually do when I run? And is my body actually prepared for that based on what I've been doing the last 2-3 weeks? I hope that answered the question.
It did. It's actually what we had
Very
written
good.
down. So
Cool.
you got everything.
A+.
Word by word.
No, but it leads to a good conversation kind of continuing along. So, we talked about how to return, some of the key points you're looking at, but I feel like progressing exercises post-injury is something I've seen a long time in my time with PTs, with my athletes and PTs, where you get injured, you go to your PT, you do a lot of band work, body weight work, because it's hurt and we don't want to stress it too much right away. And then you graduate. And then for the next rest of your life, you just do banded clamshells or banded whatevers, and you don't ever progress the weight because A, no one's told you that. And B, I mean, you should know better, but you don't, right? So you just kind of keep doing that banded stuff, and then the injury comes back because you've never actually really improved it. You just heal it to a point where it was before. And now, you overtrain some more and it hurts again. So can you talk a little bit about like progression of graduating
Yes.
from PT and exercises?
I'm going like this because I have a video coming out about this tomorrow, actually. And this is something that Nick, you and I kind of quickly talked about via text before we hopped on this call. This is so top of mind because I had an athlete last week that I was working with who, we were talking about all of the different ways they just generally wanted to like understand injury prevention and like how to continue to progress past an injury. And I was like, okay, tell me what your, strength routine looks like. This is someone who had been injured many times in a row, like chronic injury cycles. So like a lot of other runners they've been to PT for many different things, for Achilles, for hamstring, for hip flexor. Like they have all of these like PT exercises that they've like built up. Right. And they're not, this person in particular, and I feel like most runners, honestly, on social media, like you guys know what you're talking about when it comes to like muscles and tendons and exercises. I think more than like most people think. And that's why I sometimes use more like medical jargon, I would say, because I think that my audience on social media, like you guys really do have an understanding. And I would agree with your guys' audience as well. Just like you guys know what's going on. So I'm going to say this, I think in a way I hope makes sense, but please let me know if I need to clarify. So I asked this person, okay, what's your strength routine? Walk me through it. And they were like, all right, I do Bulgarian split squats And then I do this exercise called like total knee extension, which is where you take a band and you just like kind of press into that band to activate the quad. And then I do single leg deadlifts, and then I do clamshells, and then I do bridges, and then I do monster. And I was like, whoa, hold up. Like you just described, like basically it was exactly like they chose one main exercise, like a split squat, a lunge, a bridge, a deadlift, and then they followed it up with a PT exercise. It's redundant. Like it's not only is it redundant, like you're doing too much. Like you're actually doing too much to create any kind of change that you want to be seeing. You're just kind of building up fatigue for no reason. And I see this all of the time. Like people think, I saw a post about this. I'm not going to say who it was from or anything, but people think that like PTs have this like special knowledge of these simple exercises and that they're somehow superior to like the regular strength routine exercises. No, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but like this is not like a band walk and a clamshell is not superior to a single leg deadlift and a lunge. They're different exercises and they're different phases. You most likely should not be doing them at the same time. You better have a damn good reason for why you're doing them at the same time, because you're working the same muscles. You're actually getting more with the more like robust squats, deadlifts, and lunges. And I'll talk about why in a second. But this post was framed as in like, oh, you have to do this banded work and this stability work. And that's why you keep getting these glute injuries, because you're not doing the banded work anymore. No, I'm sorry. That's wrong. That's not correct. If you are doing a squat without pain, if you're doing a deadlift without pain, if you are doing a lunge without pain, there's no reason to be doing these like little PT exercises. That being said, if you're doing your little PT exercise and you have not yet done a squat, a deadlift, or anything like that, you want to slowly progress to those. You don't all of a sudden, I'm not telling you to just like rip up your bands and like start doing these harder exercises, but there should be a plan in place to progress you there. And while you're progressing, you do not need to do the initial exercise that you were doing in PT. The reason you're getting different exercises in PT is because people are showing up to PT in pain. That's when you go to PT. So most people cannot tolerate a single leg squat and a single leg deadlift. So you're going to be given a double leg bridge, a clamshell. They're isolating the muscle a little bit more, basically just to get you moving so that you're not in pain. But that should never be what you're continuing to do once you are not in pain anymore. And there is in no way this like secret to them preventing a future injury from happening. You should be progressing past that because you want more and better load capacity. And you're going to get that from heavy lifting. I think this person actually said, heavy lifting is great, but you should be doing, no, heavy lifting is great. End of sentence. Runners should be progressing their exercises. I understand not everyone has access to heavy weights, and that's another conversation. That's not the one we're having right now, but you should be progressing your exercises if you can.
That is, no, it's worth being fired up about. And I remember just using me as an example, when I came to Vicky for the first time, in my journey as a runner, I'm not going to say I'm lucky. I've worked at this. I've had very few issues, but I always make sure that like what I'm doing is proactive. And the reason that I initially came to Vicky was because I went to a running PT specific clinic here in New York City, and the PT did not hear who I was when I was describing my profession and what I do and what I do outside of running, and which is strength training, right? But I was diagnosed probably 8 to 10 banded exercises.
Ooh.
And I'm somebody who's been strength training for quite some time. So I'm at a different, my body's at a different capacity level, right? And so the first thing I remember that you shared with me, I don't know if you remember this, but I was honestly shocked that you, and I've done them every week and will continue to until I die. Vicky gave me like pretty much like 3 exercises. And I'm like, that's it. Like, so I'm like now traumatized because I think I saw 2 PTs at that point until I got to Vicky. I was like, she's just giving me 3 strength training exercises, and one of them I don't even have a weight. I'm like, what? And plyometrics, right? And so I literally will just be doing those exercises until I die and continue to progress them as needed.
Yeah.
And I think that, to our earlier theme and point, that's not sexy. That doesn't keep me reliant on you as the physical therapist. So that's the other point. That's a whole different conversation about how a lot of these healthcare, the system, and also run coaches and personal trainers too, will, they want, there are some folks who, and it's a way for them to have their athletes, their clients dependent on them, will kind of just create more for the sake of more and without really any purpose. So it's not sexy, but it's the truth.
I'm going to say something here that I feel like a lot of people need to hear about PT in general. And if there's other PTs listening, look, like, this isn't going to sound great, but it is. This is what it's like in PT, and this is how I felt when I worked my first job as PT. You are encouraged by your higher ups and okay, let me rephrase this. Everyone wants the best for you. But unfortunately, because of the system, it has to be done a certain way. Insurance likes a story. They like progress. They like to see that you're progressing through your exercises, you are improving through physical therapy, and then you're graduating. Insurance doesn't like when you can do a heavy squat session 1, because then how are you going to progress that over time? How are you going to come 2 to 3 times per week? You're not mandated, but you are heavily encouraged to start someone, not only just for the reason of showing progress, but you don't want to create more pain the first day, right? And that might be more likely if you're giving them a exercise that requires more load. But the majority of runners who walk into PT don't need to start with a clamshell, a bridge, and a bird dog. They don't. And yet they do to this day. That's what they start with: banded exercises, bird dogs, clamshells, and bridges. Hopefully the PT shows you more than that, but even that's not a given. And in my opinion, I don't want to say that's malpractice, but that's just not addressing the real issue at hand for someone like a runner. Maybe someone who isn't very active, is going to benefit from some movement in general. That's fine. But runners, you're probably at a much higher capacity. You should probably start there. And I think PTs are scared to load oftentimes because it might aggravate symptoms. And that's a scary thing too, because you're only coming in 1 or 2 times per week. You're not really communicating outside of that. And you don't want to set someone off into pain and then they never come back because then they don't trust you either. So it's a really hard system to work with and to work against. And that's why I think the more important part is finding a PT who education, what they explain to you should make sense to you. Everything. And there should be, this is how and why we're going to progress you back into running. And that should, to your core, make sense to you. You shouldn't be sitting there being like, well, I don't really know. Like, yeah, I guess I'm doing these exercises. I guess they're helping. I don't really know how I'm going to get back to, I guess I'll go on a 3-mile run tomorrow and test out. They didn't really tell me. There should be none of that. Ask the question, say, okay, when should I go for my next run? How should I put that into my plan. When I graduate, what exercises should I still be doing? I
Yeah.
wish I could say that every PT will progress you, but some might not. And then maybe you can use social media after that. But it really, runners are a little bit different than the general population. And unfortunately, they have to work within a system that isn't the best right now.
Yeah, and such a true point about, if you were to set someone back, because then they won't have trust. And I think a lot of people go to doctors,
Right.
anyone who's a doctor, and it's like expected, you will fix this, or I will be getting better because I'm coming here. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to show progression, but teaching, like that's the thing. If I can walk out of there with knowledge, like same thing when I went with a sports dietitian, I walked away with knowledge. I didn't fix my diet in 3 months,
Right.
or my perfect fueling now, but I just worked through a, learning enough that now for the rest of my life, I have knowledge. And that's the same thing. I want to work at PT. I want to have knowledge that I can help this injury when it comes up, know how to progress it, know how to work through it and fix it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's why, like, as a PT, I try and explain the concepts. Like, this is why I'm giving you this exercise, and this is why we're progressing it, and this is why we're modifying your runs, and this is why we're changing your strength. Like, that's ultimately what I want all of my clients to get from working with me is like, you could do it on your own. You're probably with me because, like, I mean, that's also what I like about having my own coach, you, Nick, is like, I don't want to do that on my own. I want it to be done for me because, like, then it takes a mental load off. But I want you to I want all of my clients to understand if your Achilles flares up, you're not just like, I'm pushing that in the back of my mind. I'm not going to think about it and I'm going to go for it. No, you're able to communicate. This is how it feels. Maybe we should try this. I don't know. That didn't really feel right. You know your body better than any PT, better than any coach, better than any person. You have to understand how these things work. So, yeah.
Iconic. Just
Yeah.
no notes. No notes. And now we're going to have you think deeper again. So go back to 4 hours ago.
Okay.
Digging deep. Coach Nick is ready with the secret guest interview questions.
Oh my,
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. All right, Vicky, everyone's gotten all them right so far, so you got to keep the trend going. All right.
God.
Question the first. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh. Does it have to be running? It has to be running specific?
No, it can be anything.
What's the best piece of advice I've ever received? I think the best piece of advice I've ever received is I don't know how to say this without like it becoming like therapy.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know how why am I taking this so seriously right now? Like, I feel like I just entered my therapy session.
Yeah,
Tell us. This is a safe space.
The best piece of advice I've ever received is being true to myself, speaking my truth, saying it out loud, even if people think that I'm too loud or I have too much to say or I'm too combative. Not doing it for the other person, but doing it for myself, recognizing that that is me being true to myself. And I'm thinking very specifically of like a problematic familial issue that I've had, which is why it's hard for me to bring this up. But like, I think ultimately I tend to second guess myself a lot of the times. I tend to have imposter syndrome. I tend to think like ultimately question myself if someone comes at me. But if I always stay true to what I believe, I think that ultimately I feel better at the end of the day if I don't back down from what I know to be true. This sounds kind of crazy, but like that's really I need to be more confident about myself, and I think that's been very helpful in the past few months.
No,
So.
that's a great answer. And to be correct here, like good thing you were confident in your answer here because you got it right. That's exactly what I had written down. So that confidence really paid
Word
off.
for word.
No, it was good because one thing about you, Vicky, is you are exactly who you say you are, and that is a flex. I'm going to tell it. I'm not just hyping you up. You are exactly who. That's why you will always have a seat at our table because
Thank you.
you will always
Yeah.
stand on business.
And you know
Perspective.
what? Like, I got to say, both of you are great role models for that. Like, I think that the way that you both show up on social media, I think that's really, it's a good reminder too. Cause I mean, there's so many people in my comment section. I've been open about how how much it affects me and how much it can tear me down and make me feel shitty about myself. But ultimately, like, being confident about who I am and about my knowledge and about just like genuinely how I feel about myself. Like, I need to stand 10 toes down, and like I haven't always. I also, like, in my like family unit, like my mom and my sister are not similar to me. They're more like a little bit more quiet, and they're able to like hold things in and just like maybe, I guess, think before they speak a little bit more. I'm not like that, and I sometimes try to be. And at the end of the day, like, that doesn't serve me either. Like, I have to just be me and be who I am. And like, sometimes I'm emotional, sometimes I'm angry, sometimes I'm happy. Like, it just, and allowing for those emotions has been like one of the best things that I learned in therapy. Like, oh no, having emotions like that, like, that's not wrong. Like, you can have them. And that actually helps me process better. And just like staying true to what that feels like has been really helpful. So
Yeah, we love therapy here, and we love that answer.
big
So thanks
therapy
for
fan.
sharing. All right. Question the second. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
I feel like I'm an open book. Like, there's not much that people are surprised at. People are surprised that like people are. I'll keep it running related. People are surprised that like I don't like running with a lot of people. Like, Amanda, I'm coming into the city to run with you, but like, I only run with like you and Treg. Like, I don't run with people. Running is not like, as much as it is social on my social media, it is not social time for me. Like, it is very much like introspective time for me. So I think a lot of people are surprised to hear that like I actually would prefer to be out on my own. I don't join a lot of run clubs. I don't, do a lot of like running community things because I just like do it for myself. So I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind. It's not really that deep, but
No, it's good.
yeah.
All right, Vicky, final question. What's something you wish more people understood about your industry?
Like PT, I wish more people understood that it's an industry, it's a system, first and foremost. And, sometimes systems are not the best at what they need to do. And that's why it's super important to work within that system as best as you can, but also understand that like sometimes it's not going to work exactly as you need it to. So if you go to a PT and for whatever reason it didn't work out, that doesn't mean all PTs aren't going to work for you. That doesn't mean PT doesn't work for you in general. I think it takes some time to find someone who you trust, but remember that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think the healthcare industry in this country in general has to improve a lot. And that's going to take some time, but hopefully we'll start to see those changes.
Well said. 3 for 3. Great job, Vicky.
I feel like it was 2 for 3. The first one took me a while to verbalize.
It's okay.
To be fair, we didn't say rapid fire,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
had we, you
I
would
would
have
have
been
failed them all.
demoted. No, that
Yeah.
was wonderfully answered.
Thank you.
For all those who are not following you and your journey, can you just share where folks can find you if they want to follow or work with you?
Yeah. Train Smart, Run Strong on both Instagram and TikTok. Not so much TikTok anymore, mainly Instagram. TrainSmartRunStrong.com is my website. And if you want to work with me, you can find all of the information on there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Doctor. And we hope that everyone listening to this got something out of it. I know that I did. I'm sure that you did. Make sure that you are rating and reviewing the Running Explained podcast wherever you listen or watch. That really helps us out You can reach out to us at any time, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Yay, thank you.